Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. We've got a very special episode for you today because not only have we got the seasonal special guest of LFC Focus, George, with us today, but we're also going to be taking a slightly different look back on the Premier League season because, I mean, you've had a lot of teams of the season, you've had a lot of players of the season, so it's time to do some slightly different end of the season awards, I think. So what are we starting off with, George?
What are we starting off with?
We are starting off with our surprise packages of the season. And we're going to do our surprise club of the season. So which club sort of surprised us in how well they did this season. And then a player as well. Which player surprised you the most? So start us off, George. Which club has really blown you away this season with how well they've done?
Well, slightly predictably, I'm going to go for Chelsea. So, end of last season, they were managed by Mother Goose. Goose
Hiddink. For anyone who doesn't get the
they
joke.
didn't really seem to be going anywhere. They were just sort of sat in 10th. They were below Stoke, and they appointed Conte, and I said this guy's going to be a complete flop.
Did you?
I did think that because
I
thought he's too similar to Mourinho.
Oh,
but
right.
I didn't really know that much about him.
Did you think that meant he wouldn't get on with the players?
Yeah,
or just
I thought
his style
it was
wouldn't
just going
fit
to be
the league?
another sort of too authoritarian manager.
Yeah.
But I've been proved wrong. And they've been really good this year, and they've just walked away with the league title. So that would be my surprise.
I suppose the benefit is, while being a bit authoritarian, he's also bringing new ideas. Whereas Mourinho was very much sort of old-fashioned defensive style, part of the bus kind of football, which has been getting a little bit tired, as has been shown this season when he hasn't been particularly doing well. But Conte was bringing new kind of fun ideas. His attacking style was interesting.
And he's quite a fun guy.
And he seems quite a fun guy as well. I mean, again, with the difference between him and Mourinho when they celebrate goals is very obvious. Mourinho just kind of scribbles in a pad. It's like, that was
Mourinho
good.
just appears to get more unhappy.
Yeah, there's nothing I've seen that's actually made him happier. Conceding, scoring, nothing works.
Need to watch out for that guy.
It's quite sad,
Somebody needs to
really.
look
It's
after
quite
him.
sad, isn't it? But yeah, so you're going with Chelsea?
I'm going with Chelsea.
I suppose, yeah, with Chelsea, it's like, now it doesn't feel like they've been much of a surprise, but the start of the season, no one really expected them to do that
I think
well.
everyone was saying sort of Man U or Man City to win the league.
And the fact that they ran away with it as well, it sort of felt like Conte might be a sort of a longer project, a bit like Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. But yeah, so you've gone with Chelsea.
Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool.
Yeah, but the Brendan Rodgers project flopped, didn't work. But yeah, so my surprise package of this season is Burnley. Because I just think simply because a lot of people have been talking about Sean Dyche saying he deserves manager of the season, that he's done very well with Burnley. But I think the main thing for me is the fact that he was relegated with them a couple of seasons ago. So it's nice to see that they stuck with their manager and trusted him to get them back into the Premier League. And they've just performed so much better than they did last time. And it really has been that home form that's made them really formidable, really. I mean, their away form has been a little bit.
Well,
bad.
I think last time they were in the Premier League, they're quite reliant on their sort of 4-4-2 system. And last time Vokes was injured for the whole season.
Yeah.
So they missed out there. But this year
they've had him, and they've sort of just the 4-4-2 has obviously come into fashion a little bit now in some ways, with Leicester using it pretty well. So yeah, I'm going with Burnley for my surprise package of the season. And then what's your surprise player of the season,
my
George?
surprise player is Sadio Mane. Again,
a little bit of a shout out for a Liverpool player.
Yeah, well, Mane at Southampton, he clearly had a lot of talent, but he only really appeared to do things in small bursts. You'd see sort of occasionally he had that hat trick in like 3 minutes, and you'd think, wow, this is quite a player, and then for 4 or 5 weeks after, you wouldn't hear about him.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of Southampton fans said when we signed him. Was they said, "Oh, he's good, but he only has about 4 amazing matches a season, and for the rest, he's kind of a little bit anonymous."
So when he went to Liverpool, it was like, is he really a player worthy of that sort of club? And he clearly is. He was probably a standout player this season.
Yeah, I think he was. I mean, in terms of just being an exciting footballer to watch, in terms of just having a player who, when they got the ball, you were instantly thinking, "Oh, I wonder what they're going to do." It's something we hadn't really had since Luis Suarez, of a player who you just said, get the ball to them and they will do something. You can trust them to actually create something, and that's what Sadio Mane's brought. And I think that Liverpool signed him at exactly the right time, really, because he's made that step up now to being a proper quality player, and hopefully he can continue that into next season.
Yeah, he's one of those players who always sort of takes on the defender, and it's very exciting to watch.
Well, yeah, he's an entertaining winger. Is he an old-fashioned winger? Is that how wingers used to play?
Yeah. Yes.
Wingers that do stuff. Top quality analysis.
That's
Here
what
on,
you want from your wingers.
Here on LFC Focus.
They do stuff.
So my surprise player for this season is David Luiz.
David
Because
Luiz.
it's sort of the same thing with Chelsea, as I was saying, with you saying they're the most surprising club of the season, is when you look back at it now, it doesn't really feel like they were much of a surprise because they've done well for the whole season. But, I mean, when Chelsea signed him, he wasn't like their priority player. I don't think Antonio Conte wanted David Luiz. He wanted a new centre-back to fit his 3-4-3 system. But David Luiz was not top of that shopping list. And it was it looked a lot like a panic buy that they just made on deadline day because they needed a centre-back. And so they just brought him in because he was the only one really available. And obviously he hasn't got the most amazing history as a defender at Chelsea, at PSG and for Brazil. But he really came into his own this season. I think the 3-4-3 system helped him.
Really helped.
I think having 2 extra centre-backs around you, that meant that he had more of a licence to roam forward without endangering any defensive efforts that the team might make, has helped him a lot. But his goal-scoring contribution actually went down a little bit. I think his only goal was the free kick he scored against Liverpool. But I mean...
Lucky you.
Yeah, whoopie-doo. The one where Mignolet wasn't watching when he took it. Sound. But I think David Luiz has really impressed
he's
this
matured
season.
quite a lot.
I think that is it. Yeah, he's matured and he's now come into the Premier League having had experience from that league, and he sort of knows what he's doing.
And he appears quite dedicated now because he deliberately wanted to be like, I've got unfinished business at Chelsea.
Well, yeah, he came to Chelsea and he said, didn't he, that those years at PSG, he just called them 2 years that he'd wasted because he wasn't playing a high standard of football. And he came to Chelsea, obviously, with not the best reputation. I think maybe that fueled him a little bit coming in and no one really expecting him to do well. But yeah, David Luiz,
I think good for him as well.
I think
even though he does play for
even
Chelsea.
though he does play for Chelsea and they did sort of win the title in slightly boring style, it's good to see a player do that. So yeah, we've had our surprises of the season. George,
I was very surprised.
It's time for flops of the season. Which player has really, really flopped this season for you?
I'm going to say Claudio Bravo. Because he's been an utter shambles.
Yes.
And Guardiola should be embarrassed by how he's treated Joe Hart. Because, okay, Joe Hart, maybe he hasn't quite fulfilled the potential that many of us thought he would when he was at Birmingham City or in his early days at Man City. But he's still a good goalkeeper.
Yeah. He's done alright at Torino, hasn't he?
He's done okay.
I think he's made a few mistakes, but overall he's been an alright goalkeeper.
And he's a good leader as well. And he's the sort of guy you want in your squad. So... For Guardiola,
shouting.
He does a lot of shouting.
Yeah.
But for Guardiola just to pretty much say it's rubbish and...
Well, yeah, he didn't even really give him a chance, did he? He sort of came and was like, no, Caballero's better than you and I don't want you and I'm going to sign someone else, before he'd even played a league game that season.
So
slightly harsh.
And Guardiola's been left with egg on his face.
He has.
Bravo, who's just
been terrible. All over his shirt.
Been terrible,
as Alan Partridge would say. He has been terrible. There was the game against Everton where he didn't save a shot and conceded 4. There was the way he announced himself to the Premier League by just dropping a ball into the path of Ibrahimovic, which wasn't impressive.
If you look at the attributes of the great goalkeepers, like Schmeichel was imposing, Banks was a great shot stopper.
He doesn't have any of them.
Alright, so he's good with his feet. That's like the 5th, 6th most important thing.
He's not even that amazing with his feet though, is he? He's never really blown me away with his ability in terms of passing, which may come from, I suppose, when you're playing at Barcelona, you don't get much pressure put on you, whereas when you're in the Premier League, you get more people
especially the fact that he only really played in the Liga games.
Yeah,
whereas
he didn't play Champions League. Yeah, he's just been useless, hasn't he? I mean, have they already signed a new goalkeeper, or is it still a rumour?
Yeah,
they're going to spend like 45 million quid or something. Yeah, some bloke from Portugal. You know, we really do our research here.
We do.
On LSE Focus. None of that.
I'm sure Man City Focus.
None of that.
What's going
on. They'll know what's up if that channel exists. Do you want to start it up?
No, because I don't support Man City.
Might be interesting.
No.
Okay, never mind then. So my flop player of the season, it's a bit of an obvious one. It is Paul Pogba. Because he just, for 89 million, he hasn't impressed. I mean, when Sadio Mane came in, this is a slight tangent, and he came in and people were like, oh, you spent 35 million on him. I don't really mind about the fee as long as they play well. I don't really, if he's not a £35 million player, whatever, but if he plays well, that's fine. But when you're the world record transfer fee player, 89 million for him, and the fanfare that was around him coming in as well, the idea that he
dabs and
the dabs, all the rubbish really, which I suppose worked brand-wise.
Probably made them quite a bit of money.
Probably made them a lot of money, but in terms of results on the pitch, he just doesn't contribute. And I mean, considering he had quite a reputation at Juventus, I think, for being quite a midfield dynamo. He scored goals. He played in that number 10. He was tough tackling and physical. And we haven't really seen much of that in the Premier League this season from Pogba.
Pogba, I feel a little bit sorry for him because I don't really think any defensive midfielder is worth £89 million.
No, not really.
It's like, so what could he really have done?
Yeah. But I think the problem is when he got put in those attacking roles, he didn't do anything either.
No.
And that's what he did at Juve, really. He played as an attacking midfielder. But I think the nadir of his just misery at Man United was when they were playing Chelsea in the FA Cup. And I thought, I'm going to watch Pogba for 5 minutes and see what he does. Because Man United fans say, oh, he's actually quite influential, he just doesn't do anything flashy. And the one thing I did notice was that Chelsea players deliberately kept the ball around Pogba because they knew he wouldn't tackle them. Because he does a thing where he just kind of follows them round but doesn't actually do anything. So yeah, he hasn't impressed me that much, Paul Pogba. He's had some flashes. He's had a couple.
He was good in the Europa League final.
Yeah, and he's had a couple of games, like you said, where he's controlled the game, or he's been quite influential, or they've clearly missed him when he's been out. But overall, he just hasn't impressed.
It's his first season. He might.
He might come good, but for this season, for all the fanfare around him that he seemed like he was going to be the messiah and solve all their problems, he hasn't turned out like that. I mean, Herrera.
Yeah, Herrera's probably been a better.
Herrera's been their standout midfielder, and Pogba hasn't, and that says it all, really. But yeah, so let's move on to clubs. George, your flop club of the season.
My flop club of the season is Middlesbrough.
Oh,
so I was thinking when Middlesbrough came up, they've had a few years sort of in and around top of the Championship, and they'd finally sort of broken the ceiling. They'd got to the Premier League, and they had some good players. They had Valdez, Champions League winner. Negredo, I always thought was
proper class at City. Yeah.
Jordan Rhodes,
up and coming young
decent
striker,
player in the Championship, and then nothing happened for them. Their season never really got started, and
I suppose it's that kind of thing where they never really looked like a team that was worthy of the Premier League. They just kind of they weren't like Sunderland where they were a disaster and they were terrible every week, but they just kind of trundled along.
It was strange. They just didn't score. They didn't. It seemed like they didn't even try to score.
It's a fairly simple part of football that they missed out. Isn't it?
They didn't concede many, but you've got to go for it.
You've got to score, and with a player like Negredo up front, at least go for it. I mean, that's the thing that I did notice when watching Middlesbrough play, which I won't lie, I didn't do much this season because they're not that exciting to watch. Is that they just don't try to get forward. They don't create chances, and when they get the ball, they kind of just pass it around the back and stuff like that. They just didn't seem to look like a team who actually really wanted to stay in the Premier League. They just looked happy to be there for a year and thought, well, this is all right, isn't it? And then went.
I think maybe all the signings had almost taken the spine away from the team.
Well, yeah, if you've done so well in the Championship, it's a fine line to walk between bolstering your squad ready for the Premier League and just turning it into a different team that doesn't work. And if you want to have a season of progress, your first season in the Premier League isn't a great one for that.
See, looking back,
that's more about just staying in the league.
A more successful team in their first season, like Stoke City,
they
kept the skewer. They kept your Fullers, your Lawrences, your Delabs.
Do you mean the spine of the team?
Your skewer.
Or
spine, okay.
Spine's a more common phrase than the skewer
it's like
of the
skewer
team.
in the shish kebab. So that's how you stay up. You keep your tactics. You
keep the skewer.
You play to your strengths. You keep the skewer.
Well, yeah, I think the spine of the team is the main thing. It's something a lot of people talk about, having that central bit of the team that's the same, that know what they're doing, that have a strong relationship between each other, and then maybe bring in some wide players, bring in some full-backs, a couple of flashy players. But you've got to keep it... It's got to look like the same team. It's like Liverpool's team this season. You've still had a lot of recognisable players in there. It looks like a team that's just been improved rather than a totally different team. Because, I mean, we saw stuff like this last season, like when we beat Man City 4-1 and stuff like that, and it just feels like this season has been a continuation of that.
Yeah, I think maybe you had that problem last season. There was a lot of changes with Benteke and Ings. And
well, that's the kind of
leaving.
thing.
It was a strange
well, it's like, Dalglish's first summer when he brought in 8 signings, including like Downing and Charlie Adam, and it predictably just didn't work because it was changing too much at once, and that's what they kind of do. Speaking of changing too much at once, but badly, my flop team of the season is West Ham.
Oh!
Because I think by the time we got about halfway through the season, we knew that West Ham weren't having a great time, and it sort of felt like we may have expected it, but But if you look from the end of last season, when they left Upton Park, they came 7th. They had Payet. He was
They
playing
were really
well.
on a high.
They were a really good team, and it wasn't just because they had Payet. The rest, everyone else was chipping in as well, and it all sort of worked around.
I think a lot of West Ham fans were saying, because at the back end of the season they did have a few unlucky decisions in regards to refereeing, and they felt that they could have perhaps got Champions League.
Yeah, which is a slight
Maybe,
stretch,
but
but they did have a good year. They probably could have gotten close to it,
yeah,
possibly. But yeah, West Ham, I just think they've really, and a lot of it I think is to do with the summer transfer window, and that's why I think by the start of the season we sort of felt like West Ham might not perform that well. But at the end of the season, you thought they've got 7th, they've actually got European football, something might start to build.
And the
here.
European campaign was.
And the European campaign was
another disaster.
Well, they went out to Astragugu again, which is
a big derby. It's
yeah, it is. It's quite a rivalry. I mean, if they play each other again, I don't think they're going to get a welcome reception. Yes, the Astragugu players and fans. But yeah, I mean that went up in smoke, and their whole transfer window they just didn't bring in very good players. They brought in like Jonathan Kaleri and Simone Zaza. There's a lot of talk of some good players. People saying, oh, maybe they'll get Carlos Bacca.
I even heard Lacazette, I think.
But it just turned out that no one really wanted to go to West Ham, and I think they sort of
Tevez was also linked.
I think I think the problem was they didn't think, well, let's get some young and up and coming players who are going to come good. Let's try and become a big club and start signing big players. But none of those big players wanted to go to them.
It's tough with the new stadium, obviously.
I think the new stadium contributed as well, yeah.
The fans weren't happy, were they?
And obviously Payet, the whole saga of him sort of rumbled on a bit too long. Which, yeah, that was funny. You almost forget he was there, don't you? But yeah, that's my flop club of the season. West Ham are disappointed. But next season, I think things could go on the up. If they keep Bilic, I don't think they should sack him. I think give him at least another year. So he's had 3 years. I think that's 3 years. I think is the right term to give a manager. Unless things are going horribly wrong, give him 3 years and see what happens. And you never know, you might come good. So yeah, that's our flop clubs and players of the season. And next up, what have we got?
What have we got? Wasn't it most memorable?
It was our most. Next up is our most memorable moments as fans of our respective teams. George, as you can see, is a Stoke fan. I am, of course, a Liverpool fan. What moment's going to stick the screen?
Oh, yeah.
What moment's going to stick with us the most from this season? So, George, as a Stoke fan, what are you never going to forget?
Well, this season has been pretty forgettable for Stoke. Yeah. It hasn't.
Well, normally you have like one big win against a big club.
Yeah,
and
none of that.
This season that just hasn't happened.
Our biggest win was against Southampton, and that was last day of the season.
Yeah.
But I'd probably go for the good and the bad of the memorable moments.
Yeah.
The bad was being completely rolled over by Wolves,
which he went to see.
Which I was there
live at
and
the Bet365.
It was sad because you had this Bojan. He's like such a talent, and there was just nothing coming together. And
Gordon Ramsay there.
Mbula just wasn't trying. He had his collar up and he was wandering around, and it was just sad.
It's one of those football matches where it goes beyond.
Really
it goes beyond making you angry and just feels really, really sad.
So that was the low point, I guess. The high.
But I guess you won't forget it, will you?
The high point memory-wise was the double over Hull. Because
that says it all.
We played really well in those games. Shaqiri especially.
He got like 3 goals.
He got 3 goals in 2
season.
Games and another one against Middlesbrough.
That was about it, really, wasn't it, for a season?
If he played in the Championship, he'd be ace. I don't think that's the level he's looking at.
I think you can say that for a lot of Premier League players.
Yeah, so the double over Hull, we played really well in those games, and it just showed what we could do if we did that more.
10 years down the line, are you going to remember doing the double over Hull?
No, I don't think. No.
Are you going to remember anything from this season?
No, and that's strange as a Stoke fan, because it always feels like season after season we've been building, and just since the start,
this season's felt like.
I think bar one season, Pulisic last season, we've been improving every year, and this
season's just hasn't worked, has it?
Hasn't.
Are you optimistic for next year?
Depends who we sign.
Yeah. But I suppose maybe some of the signings that haven't worked this year will gel next year. Arnautovic could continue. He's developed all right, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done really well. And he's really became good in his 3rd season. This would be Shaqiri's 3rd season.
Yeah, and Shaqiri obviously had some injury problems this season as well, didn't he?
I think play Shaqiri attacking mid, because that's where he plays for Switzerland. and
he's a bit more influential.
He seems to do more for them than he does for us.
It's always good, isn't it? Maybe he just cares more.
No, I think he's a good player. Just
yeah. So that's your sort of anti-memorable moment of the season as a Stoke fan.
And Eric Peters' Cruyff turnout for a corner, which we conceded. Just clear it down the line.
I mean,
keep it simple.
That says it all, doesn't it? Really, that really says a lot about Stoke's season. My most memorable moment as a Liverpool fan of this season, and there were. I was a bit more spoilt for choice because I think Liverpool had a generally quite a memorable season. We had some good results, some impressive goals, ended quite well when we got Champions League football. But for me, the most memorable moment was when we went 4-1 up against Arsenal on the opening day. Sadio Mane just does about half the Arsenal defence and then wallops it into the top corner. And I just think that really...
Coutinho's
free kick. I mean, Lallana scoring a goal, which didn't happen that often before this season. Coutinho's second goal to make it 3-1. And that was all in the space of about 10 or 15 minutes. And I think it really just stuck out. It stood out because of the fact that it just really felt like the Liverpool team at the time was unbeatable. To just see us... Because normally open day matches are quite... It's cagey, aren't they? You just don't want to lose on your first day of the season.
I think you had a really good pre-season.
We had a good pre-season. There was a bit of optimism
so
rising.
Much momentum.
We'd just beaten Barcelona 4-0 at Wembley. We'd also just lost 4-0 to FSV Mainz.
Okay, so maybe I don't know.
But we forget about that bit.
That was a completely different
We pretend that didn't happen. But yeah, just the feeling of that this Liverpool team is completely unstoppable, and just thinking, the sky really is the limit for this season, and genuinely believing we can challenge for the title, we can do anything. And it felt like that for a few months. It felt like that for a bit, and then it fell away. But at the time, it really did feel like Liverpool were the best football team in the land for once, which is always nice. So yeah, that's is Mane cannoning it into the top left corner, and the celebration as well when he jumps on Jurgen Klopp's back and does the karma to the Arsenal fans. It was great to see. So that's my most memorable moment as a Liverpool fan. And when we turn to memorable moments as neutrals. We thought, what's the moment from this Premier League season that stuck out to us? We had a bit of trouble, didn't we, George?
Trouble.
Because it sort of...
looking back, it's like...
It became clear to us that this season has been quite boring. I think as a Liverpool fan, it was a struggle because most of the interesting things have happened to Liverpool that had something to do with Liverpool. Chelsea just kind of ran away with the title. Most of the relegations were a foregone conclusion.
Not according to our...
Oh yeah,
we
went through our Premier League season reviews so far, where we predicted the end of the season. We got it slightly wrong. We both said Palace 20th. We both said Sunderland 19th, which was right.
Yeah.
I said Middlesbrough 18th, so I still got them in the relegation zone. George, who did you say was 18th?
I put the champions, Leicester City.
So you made a bit of a boo-boo.
I did.
Yeah.
Big boo-boo.
So we weren't quite on point there. That was a bit disappointing. But we have managed to pick out some memorable moments from this Premier League season, just about that maybe 10 years down the line we might not have forgotten. George, what's your most memorable moment?
I'm going to put Arsenal tonking Chelsea at the Emirates, and that was a game that just completely changed the season in completely the way that you didn't expect.
That's true.
So from that moment you probably thought, all right, Arsenal are going to really have a proper title challenge. Arsenal fan TV is just going to be happy.
It's going to stop growing.
And Chelsea just would perhaps finish like Europa League places. But no, the complete opposite happened.
Arsenal finished
Europa League. That completely showed the unpredictability of football.
The best league in the world.
And how we and anyone else pretty much know nothing.
That's true. Literally.
And I think that's an important thing to remember when you're watching football.
No one knows anything.
Anything
except Antonio Conte. I think he was the only one who saw that and thought, right, we're going to win the title now.
And that's the game that really changed the season.
Yeah.
So
when George stole that, I mean, I was just pretty much done. There was nothing I could pick, but decided on one. It's got nothing to do with actual football being played, but I've gone for John Terry being subbed off in the 26th minute in his last game, because it was just the most John Terry thing to ever happen. And I suppose in a way, while it wasn't the best way to go out as a player, it was the most fitting way for John Terry to go out.
For an absolute newt.
Did you knock that, or did it just...
No, just...
Resuming normal service, after George
Please the word Newton.
After George just tried very hard not to swear about John Terry. Yeah, I mean it was just a very John Terry thing to happen.
Who thinks playing for your boyhood club, the last ever time you could play?
Why would you want to come off so early? Why would you want to do that?
Why would you do that?
And I mean, shame on the Sunderland players and David Moyes. It shows how much of a drip David Moyes is. They're like, right, we want to make this less about the actual football match and more about this one man who hasn't even played this season. He was useless.
And they literally made Sunderland kick the ball off the pitch. If I was Jordan Pickford, I'd have been like, no.
I would have just sort of basketballed it around the box for a little bit. Bit of jockeying, bit of Steph Curry kind of stuff going on there. But yeah, I would have waited until the 27th minute and then just lobbed it off. And then be like, see ya. And then it is completely ruined. Yeah, why would you want to come off so early in your last ever game? It could be his last.
Unless you were like 5-0 down to Stoke away.
And you just.
Why would.
For those uninformed in the audience, George is referring to Steven Gerrard's last game for Liverpool, where we lost 6-1 to Stoke. Thank you.
Happy days.
Bring that up. To be fair, his last game for Liverpool is now when we beat.
No, it wasn't.
When we beat Sydney 3-0.
It
is.
That's not.
There was a football. There was an opposing team. There was some actual professional footballers.
That's bad karma.
But yeah, so that wasn't good. But yeah, at least Steven Gerrard stuck it out for the whole game.
He did.
He scored a goal.
Credit to him. Well, Mark Muniez's hamstring.
I mean, to be honest, it must have been a tough experience for him. Whereas John Terry, it was like 1-1 at that point or something.
Yeah.
It was fine.
What's wrong with him?
Nothing.
What's wrong with you, John?
He's just not a likeable man, is he? No one likes him. I'm glad to see the back of him.
Yeah.
I hope he goes to a team that gets relegated.
Yeah, go to...
Just to compound the misery.
Where should he go?
Who's going to get relegated?
Who don't we like?
Crystal Palace.
Yeah, go Palace.
Go Palace. I saw it feels like a match made in heaven, John Terry and Crystal Palace, doesn't it? Really?
Well, no, we don't have Eldar. Well,
match of horrible people. He might make a horrific return, sort of like the Undertaker in WWE, but really gross and with more Bovril. Shall we end the video on that? Shall we end on Bovril?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've done it now, haven't we? We've gone through all the things.
What else is there to say?
That it was a boring season. I mean, that's our.
We all just. It's all just been building up to the Confederations Cup all year. So we're like, come on, guys, we want to get on with this Confederations Cup.
Has it?
I'm backing New Zealand.
I'm backing Germany.
Yeah.
They are in it, right?
Yeah, they're in it. They've dropped most of their players, but they're in it.
But it's fine. And I think Emre Can's going. So Liverpool fans better watch out for that. Get a bit of hair. He's got nice hair.
He does.
But so yeah, that's it. The season's
done.
The season is done.
Champions League final tonight.
Champions League final is tonight, or yesterday when you'll be watching this because it's coming out yesterday. So
yeah.
What's going to happen? Who are you backing?
I think Real will win, but I want Juventus to win.
I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a draw. No
winners this time on Champions League.
But I am backing Juve. Really want to see them win it, and I feel like maybe the curse of retaining the trophy that has existed since its inception as the Champions League and not the European Cup should hopefully work in Juve's favour.
Yeah,
I want to see them win it, and I just don't want to.
Oh no!
Oh,
it's back.
Even that's had it. I think it's time to go, George. It's time to say goodbye. So come on, Buffon. Come on, Boz-Agli. Hopefully you'll be watching this after celebrating a big Juve win in the Champions League final, which will be nice. So that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, what should they do, George?
Give it a like.
If you're around here, George, what should they do?
Give it a subscribe.
What should they check out that's down here, George?
Videos.
Some of the other videos on the channel. What should they follow on Twitter, George?
At lfcfocus.tv on Twitter.
At lfcfocustv on Twitter. You were nearly there. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in a bit.
I've been George Lovett.
Bye for now.